Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Weak global cues dragged the Lal Street lower. The Sensex and the Nifty declined by about 1%, but mid-caps continue to outperform with the index gaining over 100 points. The Supreme Court declines to transfer the Adani Hindenburg case to the CBI, gives SEBI 3 months to wrap up the probe in its entirety. The court says the report by third parties cannot be treated as conclusive proof. Adani Group stocks rally in trade. Union Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri says no discussion with oil marketing companies has taken place on fuel price cuts. Terms reports as speculative and mischievous, adds that we are in a highly turbulent situation after attacks on ships going through the Suez Canal. A top Hamas leader assassinated in a suspected Israeli drone strike in Beirut. Israeli defense forces say they are prepared for any scenario after Hamas vows retribution. More than 22,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli strikes so far, as per the Hamas-run health ministry. India's defense production is likely to cross 1.5 lakh crore rupees, says Union Defense Secretary Giridhar Armane. Promises that 45% of the orders will go to the private sector, says the government will pare its stake in BML at an opportune time, and talks on with Nigeria to export Tejas fighter jets manufactured by Hindustan Aeronautics. That's an exclusive. Bajaj Auto shares hit a record high after the company says the board will consider the buyback in 5 days. Rajiv Bajaj tells CNBC-TV18 it would be logical to assume any buyback would be higher than the 2,500 crore rupee exercise carried out in 2022. Truckers call off protests after government's assurance on the new hit-and-run law. Union Home Secretary says the clause that provides for up to 10-year jail term has not been implemented yet, and a decision will be taken only after consultation with the Motor Transport Congress. The death toll after the earthquake in Japan rises to 62. Rescuers continue to dig through the debris as they battle aftershocks and rough weather. Chinese automaker BYD sells more electric cars than Tesla in the last quarter of 2023, but Tesla still manages to sell more EVs than BYD for the whole of 2023. Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard University, resigns amidst plagiarism claims and a backlash over anti-Semitism. She was the first black president at Harvard, but managed to serve only for 6 months. This makes her stint the shortest in the university's 388-year history. Well, let's start with the market action. Weak global cues dragging our markets lower. Both Sensex and the Nifty closing with cuts of 1%. The Sensex was down about 535 points, closing at 71,356. The Nifty lost about 148 points, 0.5% lower. The Nifty IT was down 2.5% today, but the mid-cap outperformance continued with the mid-cap index closing in the green, about 0.5% of a gain coming in there for the mid-cap index. Surabhi is standing by now to wrap up the day's market action for us. Surabhi.
Well, a very clear down day for the market today. And this wasn't just about India. It was really about global markets as they were coming back from the New Year holiday. Some very clear levels also in play for the Nifty, which was constantly trying to hold the Tuesday low of about 21,550, but it was unable to do that, and the final close was around the 21,500 mark. The texture of the market seems to be turning a little bit from buy every dip. It's becoming a bit of a sell every bounce sort of for the market, but we have to wait a couple of days to see if this indeed is going to be a lasting trend. So where was the weakness today? Not the banks. We're not blaming the banks today, but it was more about IT and metal stocks. Sustained selling on large cap IT ahead of the next big event, which is the IT earnings season. And on metals, perhaps the fear came in from global shores because of the way the dollar rallied. Overnight, the dollar had rallied almost 1%, and that got some concern in the metal side of the market, given the sharp rally. And of course, weak data coming in from China as well. The stock of the day has to be Bajaj Auto. If I talk about the gainers, a fantastic ride, almost a 6-7% move immediately after the company said that it will consider a buyback. And Mr. Rajiv Bajaj told us that, they have over 20,000 crores of cash on the books of the company. The stock actually managed to cross the 7,000 mark as it hit fresh lifetime highs. The silver lining of the day really came in from the mid-cap space. That's where we had some amount of green come through and some recovery. Even on the mid-cap index, there was recovery from the lowest levels of the day. And there were more rising stocks than falling stocks today when you talk about the advanced decline ratio. I'll give you some example of positive mid-cap moves. PSUs were in play once again. NBCC, Aircon, these stocks had a very good run today, 6-7% higher. The real estate names did well. Sobha in particular, almost 10-12% up, double-digit gains. Biocon was smart with a 6% up move. So mid-caps were not too bad. Of course, the Adani Group stocks had a good run as well. Most of them ended with gains today after the Supreme Court judgment came in. Adani Total Gas, Adani Green, these were the ones that had the maximum amount of traction. Global markets are going to hold the key from here on. We need to understand what the next big global move is, particularly in the US market, because over the last 24 hours, we've seen a rise in bond yields, a rise in the dollar, and that's not good news for equity. So we need to see how this plays out. More evidence will come in the form of the FOMC minutes, which come out later this evening, and also the US non-farm payrolls data. Those are the big trigger points that will give us a clear directional call in terms of where the risk sentiment is moving in as we get into the second week of the new year.
All right, so many thanks for joining us. That's the market action. But the top story this evening, the Supreme Court has declined to transfer the Adani Hindenburg matter to the CBI. The apex court has given market regulator SEBI 3 months to conclude its ongoing investigations in the matter. A 3-judge bench led by Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud further allowed SEBI to assess any violation of norms by the Hindenburg report. Remember, the US-based short seller had accused the Adani Group of stock manipulation in January last year. Ashmit is standing by now with the details. Ashmit, take us through the key takeaways from the Supreme Court judgment and the implications.
Well, fresh out of the winter break, the Supreme Court dived straight into the midst of action, coming out with the much-awaited verdict in the Adani Hindenburg saga. Here are the important takeaways. Number one, the Supreme Court records in its judgment that SEBI had launched 24 cases of investigation into issues raised by the Hindenburg report. The Supreme Court records that out of 24, probe has been completed in 22. The Supreme Court has directed for the remaining 2 to be completed in 3 months' time. The 22 probes which have been completed, Supreme Court has directed for them to be taken to their logical conclusion. Number 2, the petitioners had sought for the issue to be investigated by the CBI. They had also sought for a court-appointed SIT to probe the allegations. Supreme Court has given an unequivocal no. The Supreme Court held that no case has been made out for transfer of this case to the CBI. The Supreme Court also recorded in its order that report by third parties like Hindenburg and like OCCRP cannot be treated as gospel truth. Number 3, the petitioners had raised allegations of conflict of interest against members of the expert committee appointed by the top court. The Supreme Court has rejected these claims by the petitioners. The Supreme Court held that no case of conflict of interest has been made out. Number 4, on the issue of regulatory framework, Supreme Court noted that as opposed to petitioners' claims that FPI norms were diluted to allow mischief, the disclosure norms were rather tightened. The Supreme Court held that no grounds were made out for revocation of the amendments made to the FPI and LODR regulations. The Supreme Court has also directed the Centre as well as the SEBI to consider the expert committee recommendations for strengthening the regulatory framework. And finally, number 5, Supreme Court has directed SEBI to probe short selling by the likes of Hindenburg. The Supreme Court has directed to probe if actions by Hindenburg may be in violation of Indian laws. The Supreme Court has also asked for suitable action in case of violations of existing regulations. Now, while findings of that SEBI investigations are still not known, leading legal voices are pitching this verdict as an exoneration for Adani, given that no criminal probe has been directed by the top court.
Supreme Court has given a vote of affirmation to the functionality of SEBI as also to the regulatory mechanism. Clearly, the report of SEBI has to have precedence over any private reports. It is important that when private investigations come, that those may be looked at. But since SEBI has now, I would say, put a quietus to the whole issue, the matter stands resolved.
See, SEBI investigation, as I said, 22 out of 24 instances is complete. The remaining 2 will be completed in the next 3 months. But as far as the court judgment is concerned, is clearly said does not warrant any criminal investigation, including that of CBI. And it trusted SEBI to do its own investigation. So according to me, it is exoneration of the Adani Group, because they have been saying that we have done nothing wrong. This Hindenburg is a malicious body which is only interested in its own profits. That's about all. So once the Supreme Court has said that no other investigation is required, if they had been guilty of some misdemeanors, the court would have ordered some criminal investigation, but that has not been ordered.
Well, reactions there coming into the Supreme Court judgment in the Adani Hindenburg matter. Moving on, crude oil prices steady as concerns about the US economy outweighed fears of potential supply supply disruptions from ongoing tensions in the Red Sea. And back home, oil marketing companies clocked sharp gains today after Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri clarified that there is no proposal as of now to cut fuel prices. The minister added that reports of a discussion with oil marketing companies on price cuts are speculative. Let's listen in.
First of all these media reports were not only speculative, but I would also turn around and say slightly mischievous. I have clarified there has been no discussion with the oil marketing companies on any such issue. And please, we are in a highly turbulent situation. Yes, there is concern. But are we confident of handling it? Absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, in the last few days, in 10, 12 days, and please correct me, as a result of this, suddenly the prices of crude started going up. And then when the full facts came, I think the market has absorbed that. There will be an impact. But is it an impact on the Indian oil and gas sector? No. I want to give you full confidence. Neither what happened yesterday or day before or earlier. We are absolutely, we'll deal with all these situations.
Well, that is the Oil Minister Hardeep Puri there, echoing what our colleague Sapna Das had been reporting, that the government is watching what is happening in the Red Sea very carefully and its impact as far as oil prices are concerned. Now, Israel military has highlighted its continuation of intensive battle in Khan Yunis, located in southern Gaza. Israeli Defense Minister said that military operations in South Gaza were focused on areas above what he said was a tunnel network where Hamas leaders were believed to be hiding. Over 22,000 Palestinians have been killed in the war between Israel and Hamas, which broke out last October. A senior Hamas leader has been killed in a drone strike in southern Beirut. Israel has not officially claimed responsibility for the attack. However, it added that it is prepared for any scenario, as the death of the Hamas leader has the potential to escalate the war into a regional conflict. Lebanese militant group Hezbollah has said that the attack, which also killed at least 6 people, won't go unanswered. Back home, India's manufacturing activity softened to an 18-month low in December. This as per HSBC's Purchasing Managers Index. The manufacturing PMI fell to 54.9 versus 56 in November, and this was largely due to slower growth of output and a lack of new orders. However, despite the decline, the measure of manufacturing sector activity remained above the threshold of 50, which indicates expansion, and this has been maintained for the 30th straight month. A reading above 50 indicates an expansion, below 50 indicates a contraction. Bajaj Auto's shares hitting a lifetime high in trade after it announced that its board will meet on Monday next week to discuss a share buyback. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Bajaj Auto's managing director Rajiv Bajaj said the company looks to give back over 70% to investors whenever cash on the books crosses 15,000 crore rupees. He also said that he expects to end FY24 with 20,000 crore rupees in cash, and that it would be logical to assume that this buyback would be higher than the 2,500 crore rupee exercise that the company carried out in 2022.
We are generating far more than we need to invest. And finally, our dividend policy, which is a public document, clearly states that whenever we have in excess of 15,000 crores sitting on our books, we would like to give away anything more than 70% of that through a combination of dividend, buyback, etc. And last year we did give away, I think we gave away more than 100%. So I think we're going to just simply stay true to the dividend policy.
Well, that's Bajaj Auto on their buyback decision. Japan's Sumit Tomo Wiring Systems is planning to sell its 14% stake in Samvardhana Motherson. This as per a report by Money Control. Sumit Tomo has appointed Nomura to handle the stake sale. The deal is likely to take place in the price range of 110 to 120 rupees per share and could be worth over 10,000 crore rupees. Steelmaker Shah Metallics has launched a qualified institutional placement with a base issue of 1,152 crore rupees. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the indicative price for the QIP is set at 576 rupees a share, which is at a discount of 3.6% to SEBI's floor price. Online travel platform IsMyTrip's board has approved a proposal to raise 1,000 crores. The fundraise would be by a combination of preferential issue of equity shares along with warrants. This is the company's first fundraise since its public listing. Speaking with my colleague Ritu, Prashant Pitti, the co-founder of IsMyTrip, said the company will use the funds for acquisitions and growth.
This is going to be our maiden capital raise, and to point to be noted is that this fundraise is going to be the first fundraise even after the IPO. We are looking for marquee investors to lead the round, and we are in touch with few of them. Many of these companies are coming at discounted price, a bit. If it's a deal for cash, not for equity. So hence, first we are looking to finish this, preferential or warrant issues based capital raise for 1,000 crores. And we're looking to do that within this particular quarter.
From auto to aviation, Akasa Air is on the brink of closing an order for around 150 Boeing 737 MAX narrow-body planes. According to sources, contract negotiations are underway and a deal announcement is expected at the Wings India event to be held later this month. Remember, the airline CEO Vinay Dubey had told CNBC-TV18 last month that the airline will announce a 3-digit aircraft order in a few weeks from now. Western investor Radhakishan Damani has picked up an additional 1.4% stake in VST Industries, and this will take his total stake in the company to 34%. Hormuz is standing by now to take us through Damani's portfolio. Hormuz, take us through Radhakishan Damani's portfolios. What does he hold and how much of what is working for him?
You know, it's always a fascination for retail investors to know what the bigwigs of Dalal Street own in their portfolio and what has led them to being where they are. And today we put the spotlight on Radhakishan Damani, the promoter of Avenue Supermarts, who we also known as D-Mart. Now, on Tuesday, Damani picked up another 1.4% stake in VST Industries via the block deal that happened in the stock, which resulted in the stock ending in an upper circuit. And that stake has now taken his total holdings in the company to over 34%, making it his single largest holdings after D-Mart. Now that stake today, as of today, is valued at well over 2,000 crore rupees. Now the other stock where Damani has consistently increased his stake over the years is India Cements, and the holdings of his own, his brothers and other entities is cumulatively valued at around 22.7%, and it is worth around 1,850 crore rupees. The other holding that he has is Trent, and well, that may be just a 1.5% holding, but the surge that the Tata Group company saw last year has resulted in that stake being valued at 1,650 crore rupees. Now, Sundaram Finance is the other one where he holds a 3.3% stake courtesy two of his entities, and that stock also did well, and that stake is now valued at over 1,300 crore rupees. And lastly, United Breweries, where Damani owns a 1.2% stake, which is valued at close to 600 crore rupees. Now, interestingly, 3 out of these top 5 holdings did not do well in 2023, while VST Industries itself was just up 3%, United Breweries was up 5%, while India Cements was up only 18% last year. However, as I highlighted, Trend, that stock had seen the stock double in 2023, gains of over 120%, and the other one that did well was Sundaram Finance, that gained over 50%. Now, besides these names, Damani also owns stake in Blue Dart Express, Sundaram Finance, Aptech, BF Utilities, Adani Resorts, and Mangalam Organics. Now, these are small to negligible stakes that he owns. So now, every time there is a news of a marquee investor acquiring or pairing stake in some stocks, the street always cheers, or vice versa is the reaction that comes in, and that is exactly what has happened with VST Industries and Radhakishan Damani.
All right, Hormuz, many thanks for joining us. That is Radhakishan Damani's portfolio. We will head into a break, but up next, India's defence production is likely to cross 1.5 lakh crore rupees, says the Union Defence Secretary Giridhar Armane. Promises that 45% of the orders will go to the private sector. That exclusive when we return. Well, here's CNBC-TV18 exclusive. India's defence production is likely to cross 1.5 lakh crore rupees, as Union Defence Secretary Giridhar Armane. Speaking exclusively to my colleague Parikshit Luthra, this Defence Secretary said that 45% of the orders from the Defence Ministry will go to the private sector. He also added that he expects a 7% increase in capital expenditure in the defence budget. When asked about potential disinvestment, Armane said the government will pare its stake in BML, but at an opportune time, also adding that talks are on with Nigeria to export the Tejas fighter jets manufactured by Hindustan Aeronautics. Take a look.
At the current level, the private sector will be taking 40 to 45% of the total orders. It may not reflect on our statistics, as we will show the contract-wise quantity. But ultimately, many subsystems, many components, many spares are being manufactured by private industry and the MSMEs mostly. We will wait for an opportune moment. Right now, BEML has got a major task on their hand. Once they complete it, they will reach a level where their share price will reach new heights. We are waiting for opportune time to do that. We don't want to shortchange our family silver for immediate gains. So we are in discussion with the Department of Public Asset Management.
And you can catch that entire interview with the Defence Secretary Giridhar Armane at 5:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. Ayodhya is gearing up for the inauguration of the Ram Temple on the 22nd of January. The city has undergone a major facelift with a new airport, a revamped railway station and beautified roads. The Ayodhya Development Authority expects a footfall of 3 lakh tourists every day during the initial months. India's top hotel chains are eyeing the massive tourism opportunity in the temple town. However, the accommodation of guests poses a problem at the moment. Shivani Bajaj reports from Ayodhya on how the authorities are planning to tackle the issue.
All roads are leading to Ayodhya as the much anticipated Ram Mandir will be inaugurated on January 22nd. The authorities expect 3 lakh plus devotees to come to Ayodhya on a daily basis after the inauguration. And hence, a surge in demand for the accommodation has led to hotel chains eyeing Ayodhya in a big way.
Almost all major hotel industry partners or players have approached us, and they are trying to buy land or get into a kind of a collaboration with people who have properties here. And so as Oberoi and Taj and Hyatt and Orchid and Daffodils and Radisson, to name few. And many of them have also started their operation, as you have seen. I mean, Radisson is the first 5-star hotel of the city. And all of them, others also, they have applied for approval of maps. They are purchasing land at their kind of suitable locations as per their demand. And Taj also is probably under construction. They are also coming up with 2 more properties as Taj Lemon Tree and some other options that they have in different categories.
The city is not exactly ready to host so many people yet. Tour operators in the city told CNBC-TV18 that there is a massive surge in international bookings from NRIs to the international guests from February onwards, and the accommodation is a problem area at the moment in the city. So the authorities have been pushing for the homestay model for the last few months. These homestays have been identified and registered by the Tourism Department as well as the Ayodhya Development Authority. And many locals are partnering with the authorities to onboard their homes for the homestay model.
And Shivani, will get you more from Ayodhya. But for now, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up next.